I talk an awful lot about the non-physical and corporeal components and subcomponents of the human being. And with that said, I wonder how many of you have taken the time to consider what your mind is and how it works, because it's one of the most important things. And if you just quickly glaze over and you're like, yeah, dude, whatever, and you don't actually take what I'm saying serious, then in my opinion, you're a fool unto yourself. Because if you're not aware of it, and someone like myself is putting it in your face, and then you take no time to better understand that which you do not about yourself regarding the contexts that I've placed or put this in front of people, the components of you that they are going after. And I've been explaining that. You're not going to perceive it consciously unless or until you're aware. And being aware doesn't mean you're going to see it and perceive it every time. And if you continue to take in the information in the media, in the movies, in all of the stuff that they have designed, misinformation agents, disinformation agents, dark occult type people that understand intimately how the human mind operates. Now, most specifically, what I want to point at is your subconscious mind. And see, most people don't understand the importance of understanding how your subconscious mind works. I'll give you a little frame of reference. That's some very real stuff. If you've ever heard the phrase, fake it till you make it, or the concept of affirmations is another one that would parallel it, where you're telling yourself something that logically, that you know is not true. The reason you're telling yourself what you're telling yourself or doing the affirmation is because you're impressing upon your subconscious consistently. And the reason why that's important is because your subconscious mind cannot determine. It does not have the functionality, or it has the capacity. It's just never been written into the code of how the subconscious mind works to be able to perceive for itself or interpret what is real versus what is not real. You got to think about that for a second. The tiny little percent of our mind that we operate in, meaning our conscious awareness, the pilot of the ship, that's the only place in space where you can really determine if something is real. The vast majority of the mind power, the mind processor, so to speak, the mind that you have is subconscious. And while it can do many things, it is the place in space from which we interact with the field so profoundly, the space in between. Now it's strange because the subconscious mind is almost in some ways more perceptive than the conscious mind, which seems a little bizarre. But if you understand how subliminals work on television, in the movies, why they even do them, your eyes don't even see it. Your conscious mind doesn't even pick it up. It's your subconscious mind that does. And why do you think they take the time to put those things in the movies the way they do? And there's a myriad of different types of subliminals, and they're put out there in various ways. And 99% of them, I would suggest, most people don't even see, even those of us that are aware, that they do this stuff on the regular, because the subconscious mind is what picks it up. For some reason, your subconscious mind is so perceptive, so aware, so alert, that if you're watching television, a movie, or whatever it is, hell, I'm quite positive they can embed this shit into any video, whether it's television, movie, or things that we watch on the internet. So subliminals, as one example, things that are embedded that we don't pick up with our conscious mind. This shit is all picked up by the subconscious mind, and they know this because they understand how you operate. Thusly, your subconscious mind is the prize. You really have to sit with how this is working and the insidious nature of what it is that is being done using the means by which we consume information. And for a lot of the normies, it's going to be the television, maybe Hollywood to some degree, and even the internet. And as easy as it is to do for them, stuff like subliminals, the effect that it has is profound. And they're doing it to people who are unaware. It's impacting or having an impact on your subconscious mind, your beliefs that are contained within there. And they can literally add bricks to the foundation of beliefs that you're not even sure where you got them or why you believe what you believe. I mean, sit down and just reconsider what I've said over the last few minutes and unpack that for yourself. There's a part of your mind that can't perceive reality from unreality. Yet, it's so perceptive that it will pick up on the subliminal stuff that they put in TV and movies and shit like that, and you won't be consciously aware of it. You really got to sit with that, because that's how it works. That's not conjecture. That's not just what I think. And since you interact with the field, so largely from the subconscious mind, and then they can impact an impression upon the subconscious mind, ideas, ideologies, thoughts, this, that, and the other that they want. And in a weird sort of way, what they're doing when they're getting things into your subconscious mind is either laying the foundation of a belief for you or adding to a belief for you while you're not consciously aware that they're even doing it to you. Because television, movie screens, and even the internet for a lot of people in a lot of ways is all contextualized as entertainment. And most people that have never been exposed to this would never expect or suspect that in these things that we call entertainment, evil men with evil intentions that understand deeply how you operate have ill intentions and are willfully putting toxins, poisons, and anything. When I say toxins and poisons, it can be anything from subliminal sexual stuff to simply messages that say stuff like obey your government, blah, or whatever it is. I remember seeing things years ago that people who knew what was going on slowed it down, and you could see when they slowed it down that there was like subliminals in there that went so fast across the screen when you watched it at full speed, you really couldn't even see it. But it said, obey your government. Your government is your authority. Your government is your God. Like weird things like that. And that was the shit they were doing in the 60s and 70s. Because when I was a kid, around 2 o'clock in the morning, the TV the broadcast on all channels pretty much would stop, and you'd have like that white snow on the old school screens that you used to get from like 2 in the morning until 6 or 7 in the morning when the broadcast started again. And the last thing they would show you might be a flag waving with some nice picturesque background, American flag, and you'd hear something like the national anthem or something. I mean, we're talking early 70s, 75, 76, 77, that time frame. And then all of a sudden, boom, the broadcast would go out. You'd have that snow on your screen. And somebody in a video that I watched years ago had a copy of something that they played for the final broadcast on air at night back in the 70s. And they slowed it down, and there it was. There it was. So my point is, if they could do that back in the early 70s and the late 60s or whatever the hell it is, they actually started doing it. Just imagine with the technology that they have today, with all the CGI and all the layers that there can be to videos and stuff, what it is that they can embed in any video. And when I say video, you're watching a video on a television. It's just, on the television being broadcast across the airwaves. You're watching a video on YouTube. You're watching a video on the internet. You're watching a video. When you watch a movie, even whether it's the big screen, it's all video. Now, when you really sit back and consider the engineering and why something would engineer us in such a way that we could be so easily programmed without our conscious awareness being aware of it, the more I analyze the human being, the human engineering, and look at the components and subcomponents and the ways in which they were taken, or they are completely taken advantage of, it's really sickening in my mind, because it clearly shows a willful effort to design us in such a way where we were as completely manipulatable as we could be. Influenceable. Think about it. Influenceable. Now, you can be influenced as a child and all that other stuff. You can be influenced when you're an ignorant fool and don't know anything, and somebody that, there's all kinds of ways we can be influenced. But most specifically, the most insidious part is the way they can influence the subconscious mind when you're not even consciously aware of it. When you understand that the TV, one of the big things about it is it gets your conscious filters down. And for people who are younger that don't really have a lot of those filters, they get this information past the conscious mind into the subconscious mind with a degree of ease that is sickening. I mean, that is really sickening how easy it is. And when you look at the condition of people, when you consider what the belief systems are out there in the consensus version of reality that most people subscribe to, well, it makes sense now why they believe what they believe. And when you understand enough, you can figure out where they got what they believe to some degree, because it's just the narratives that have been pumped off of the television and the movie screens and yada, yada, yada. Plus school. I mean, there's also school. It doesn't have to be video, where things can be impressed upon the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind, another thing to consider about the subconscious mind is its language, how it communicates, images, symbols, sigils, colors, things like that. And consider the world is built on symbolism. The elite class communicate with symbols in a lot of respects. They use logos and think of the car logos and corporate logos. It's all to impress upon the subconscious mind, so that as a consumer, when you're out there to make a choice, when you're consumering and stuff, that they've impressed upon your subconscious mind well enough that when it's time for you to choose something that their company might make, you choose them instead of a competitor. Like, there's so many layers to their intentions for why they want to do it. But ultimately, they want to affect what you believe and what you perceive, and they know that where your conscious mind won't perceive it, and there's no filters there, your subconscious mind will perceive it without bias, without judgment, and without understanding whether it's real or not real. So in the various ways that humans have been told through religions or spirituality or whatever other way, we've been told this thing of guard your mind. Guard your mind. And it's really hard to guard your mind when you're consuming poison. That's like, protect your health as you're consuming poison. And if I can control or influence your mind, your ass is eventually going to follow. And that is just the way it works. That's just a fact, Jack. If I can control or influence your mind and do it for long enough, your ass will eventually follow. That is how we are wired, made, engineered, designed, yada, yada, yada. Now, when you understand what it is they've been trying to get into the subconscious mind of all human beings, it covers the gamut from sexualization to beliefs about government, authority, just all kinds of things. We don't know that they're doing it, number one. We don't realize that these beliefs are in there. We don't realize that these beliefs are formulating in there. We don't understand how our subconscious mind interacts with the field as we create through our energy the way that we do in this attraction-based reality. You see what I'm saying? And since we don't know this, they're literally taking carte blanche and taking the liberties of putting as much shit as they want to into your subconscious mind, knowing how it's going to affect what you think, what your perceptions are, how you feel, thusly how you emote, which is directly interacting with the field. And your emotions are your emotions are going to be tied to the energy that you're putting out. Your subconscious mind is 95% of what mind is, and most of what we are is in there. It only makes sense that that would be a substantive portion of the part of us that's interacting with the field, with thought, energy that we're not even consciously aware of. I think it was Bruce Lipton say that the processing power, to the degree that they've been able to determine these things, of the conscious mind is, like a really heavy duty, really fast processor. Sure, like a gaming machine or a GPU, but the subconscious mind, that has the processor of like a Cray computer, something super fast. Like Cray computers are supercomputers. They make the best machines that we get look like Lego blocks and kids' toys compared to what a Cray computer is, and the potential for processing power and the things that they do. And I guess there's levels above that when you get into like quantum computing and shit, but up until not too long ago with the quantum computing, I think the Cray computers and their processors were some of the highest levels of processors there were. But that's just what I think. I'm not positive, but I've just known about Cray computers for kind of a while, and never actually seen one. Just know that they're in like some of these massive data centers where, well, governments and research institutions and other things have the money for it, number one, and they're trying to calculate things. The subconscious mind is a processor like that, orders of magnitude above and beyond what your conscious mind's processing power is. Now, I understand there's a lot that goes on in the subconscious mind. The unconscious is in there. And in there, you've got all the bodily functions and things that tell your heart to beat and make your blood pressure pump, or tell your heart to beat and tell your body what to do, all that stuff. That's all unconscious. I get that. So it needs a lot of processing power. But the interesting, in a very insidious way, part of this is that this subconscious part of our mind cannot and does not have the ability to interpret or perceive truth from untruth. And that is so profound. It's not even funny. It's scary as fuck when you really start to align with what it is they are doing and what their capabilities are for quite literally programming up the minds of the vast majority of the human herd. I mean, how easy was it for them to get everybody into their homes and to offer themselves up for the shots? How easy was it for them to do what they did? Because everybody believed what they were being told. The subconscious mind is also the place where all of your traumas and your baggage and all of that stuff gets put into. And we don't have direct access to the subconscious mind or an awareness of how to directly access the subconscious mind. When our conscious mind is aware of all the stuff I'm talking about, and we want to get in there and do some spring cleaning or heavy lifting to get things out of there, it doesn't work like that. And most humans lack an understanding of how this works. This is what I mean when I talk about know thyself. We have so much work to do to simply understand ourselves to a degree where we can start doing whatever work is necessary to make it so that the people that do understand how we operate can't just completely pull our strings and manipulate us like meat puppets, so to speak. Think of the onslaught that children from diapers to age 7, as an example, get, to the degree that you know this, with cartoons, television, and entertainment mechanisms, all of which are controlled by the enemy, where they weave in the themes or the agendas or ideologies that they want woven in there. And when your kids are young and small, they start programming them up to believe in same-sex marriage and same-sex couples and boys kissing boys is okay. And they do it in a nice little childlike way, so it's all innocent. Mom and dad's not watching because they're doing the dishes or the laundry or mowing the lawn or whatever they're doing. Meanwhile, the child's subconscious mind is being programmed with these ideas. These concepts are being laid in brick by brick, or shovelful of concrete by shovelful of concrete, into the foundation, the subconscious mind of developing children. And this is insidious because the enemy doesn't have to walk into your house and sit in front of your child, get through you first, and then start pumping into your child's mind the poisons that they want in your child's head to effectively render your child, when it grows up, impotent and emasculated, or whatever it is. I'm not just making this up. You really need to consider this if you're not consciously aware of everything that I've said here and the implications. And that if you want to transcend that limitation, you actually have to put in the work to educate yourself to the subconscious mind. You have to educate yourself to the techniques that you can find out there of getting into the subconscious mind. For instance, to do shadow work, to do any of the work that any conscious being that is unaware of this would want to do. You have to learn that for yourself. You got to figure out if there's anybody out there teaching it, and then what the techniques and strategies are. And then you actually have to do what they say and see what kind of results you get, and then adjust your approach as necessary. If you don't do that, they own you. Like Edward Bernays says, your tastes are formed, your interests, what you desire, all that stuff, these parts from within you. This stuff is influenced by men you will never meet. And he's referring to those social engineers, the ones that understand how we operate, that sit at a level of societal influence that most people aren't even consciously aware of, with such ill intentions, malicious intentions. That's why people like what they like. Until you understand that, you really sit with that, and you really align with and realize that's actually been happening for at least the last 5 generations. Longer. Because Edward Bernays wrote the book where he was telling us that they're doing this back in 1928. The enemy knows everything there is to know about you and how to influence you. If you don't take it upon yourself and take the responsibility to learn some things about yourself, how you operate, how your subconscious mind works, how your conscious mind works, and learn some tools so that you can get in there, learn some things so that you can protect it. Now, some of the things to protect is to just stop consuming the poison that they put out. And if you go on your own course of self-education, you can educate some of those beliefs out of your own mind because you've done your own work. You figured things out in a way that defies beliefs that you may have had before, that you may not have even realized where you got those beliefs. You have to take it upon yourself to self-educate yourself. You have to take it upon yourself to learn about your mind. You have to understand far more than surface level and think you know anything relevant to this stuff. As an example, you can't just listen to this and never heard about this stuff before, hear me say it and think, okay, now I understand, and then do nothing and take no steps towards analyzing your beliefs, towards trying to get into your subconscious mind, because there's your darkness, your baggage, and all the things that you would want to do spring cleaning on. That's all on you. I mean, you can go to somebody that can help you do that, but either way, it's still all on you. And between the traumas in our mind that got suppressed into the subconscious, which were done to us when we were, as an example, childhood traumas, unfortunately, it's on us to get rid of that baggage, to heal that inner stuff. Unfortunately, it's on us to analyze the beliefs that we have. And those were put there by other people, and come to realize that what we believe may not actually be true in lieu of what reality is showing us every day, or what we've perhaps learned for ourselves. We're talking the basics of humaning in this reality. In many respects, we, as humans being in this reality, are not meeting the minimum requirements to be a human being in the reality that we are in. And those minimum requirements are dictated to us on so many levels, the unwritten rules, so to speak, by the very evil people here doing to us what they're doing to us with extraordinary knowledge about how we operate. If we don't take it upon ourselves to better understand how we operate so that we can thwart, prevent, or wholly stop what it is that they're doing to us to control us without having to even fire a bullet at us or intimidate us with men in armies and guns and stuff. No, they just have to hope you sit in front of the TV, watch their movies. Predictive programming. We are programmable beings on more levels of our existence than most people realize or would want to accept. Yet we're conscious, sentient, aware beings that are capable of coming to know this and knowing what those who are programming us have had intentions to do. And we have the capacity. We may not have the knowledge, but we have the capacity to figure out what they're doing and then how to stop it by doing more work to understand what we are and how we operate. Your mind is the best weapon that you fucking have in this reality. And if you don't understand that, and you don't recognize that they're going after your mind for a lot of reasons, but one of them is because it's a weapon that can be formed against them when your mind is sharp and honed and you're in control of it. You've got fists and feet and elbows and knees as weapons, but you've got guns and knives and swords and all this stuff, but you also have your mind. And if you master your mind, gain high levels of control of your mind, and are guarding your mind, protecting your mind, exercising your mind, you can be dangerous. And I don't necessarily mean that in a completely negative way, but you can be dangerous to evil. And the really sad thing is that this stuff relevant to what I'm talking about should be taught to us as children so we understand this from a very young age, and then throughout the entirety of our development from a point in which it's appropriate until we go out on our own from our parents. We should be being taught and learning about this stuff and figuring out what all this means and how we operate in the ways that we do, so that by the time we go out as adults, we're armed with the information and an understanding. We've put in work, we understand our minds and all that other stuff. We understand our sexuality, we understand, so that we go out into this big bad fucking world controlled by absolute abject fucking evil. We're not fodder, we're not food for the fucking wolves, but we're not taught these things. We're not taught any of the things that we need to be taught. And I think a lot of this needs to be taught by parents, but if parents don't know and they're like, well, I don't know that, where do I teach that? Well, I had a kid, I'm going to raise them the best I can anyway. Not knowing anything about themselves, not even understanding the level of damage that's within them. How are you going to teach that to your child? How are you going to arm your child with the information that it needs to not be devoured by this world in the ways that all the people that we see that we could consider to be the herd, even though they're still living? You know what? I hope you know what I mean when I say they've been devoured, if they've offered themselves up, if they've offered their arms up, if they've succumbed to the narrative. You got to ask yourself, why is there a narrative? Why do they want to control us? Why are they going after our minds? Why are they programming us? Why are they lying to us? Why don't they want us to? Why? Just a series of whys and enough energy and gumption inside of you to flesh out the answers to those questions as best you can. And then trivium that shit down to the truth that you can determine for yourself. Your mind is the prize for these evil, wicked pricks. And most specifically, your subconscious mind. Anyway, I guess that's it. Just wanted to hammer on that a little bit more. It's necessary. I don't care if you're newly awake or if you're awake for 20 years and think you got it all figured out. If you haven't done this work on your mind, if you haven't done this work, you're still, well, you're telling yourself that you know some shit, but you don't actually know some shit if you've never actually done the work to learn this stuff about your mind. If you've never had direct access and gone into your subconscious to do shadow work, to do spring cleaning, to analyze your beliefs, if you've never done any of this stuff, apparently you're telling yourself something about what you think you know or believe and how significant it is, but yet it's not actually prompting you or motivating you to get off your ass when you have the time and put in the work to learn and then to take what you learn and practice it on yourself. It's part of knowing thyself. And if you look at the bigger statement that the Oracle of Delphi said about knowing thyself, all is in you. Well, if you don't understand that and grasp that, recognize that, and realize that you have an inward journey that you have to go on to tap into that stuff, then you're never going to know. It's just going to be some interesting phrase the Oracle of Delphi said. You took it in, you think you know what you're talking about, you think you know. But if you take no steps towards figuring out what that inner house looks like, then what are you telling yourself that prevents you from actually doing the work to open the door and stepping through and seeing what you find and doing whatever work you need to? What prevents you? Here's another example about the way you can program the mind, whether it's you doing it to yourself willfully or somebody else doing it to you and you don't realize it, and then you're silly enough to go to sleep listening to the television or some movie where your conscious filters are completely shut down, your conscious mind is completely shut down, but you're hearing it. Your subconscious mind is picking it up, and it's not determining, it doesn't have the capacity to determine whether it's real or not real. Now, you can do that for your benefit by listening to some tape or recording over and over again that says good things, whatever, while you're asleep to program your subconscious mind. There are certain techniques that you can use. Some people might call it reprogramming, or you might look at it as just adding new programming. But either way, things that you might consider to be cheesy and useless and stupid. I did for many years. Things like affirmations. You can get these cheesy tapes or recordings where it's just saying stuff that you're like, yeah, consciously I don't believe this shit. Why would I continue to listen to this shit? Because I logically, consciously don't believe it. Well, if you do that to yourself at night when you're asleep, or go to sleep listening to it and have it on repeat, maybe it plays for 3 hours or so until it finishes when you're asleep, your subconscious mind is picking up all that stuff that your conscious mind is going to be like, oh, that's all bullshit, that's cheesy, or whatever it is. And if you know it's good, but some barrier in your mind won't let you do it, try doing it and going to sleep to it, letting it play all night. That is you, of your own free will, with information that you deem to be good and appropriate and beneficial to you. That's where you're pumping your own good stuff into your own subconscious mind at a point in which your conscious mind is out of the way and not challenging you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll just use an example of, let's say you see yourself as weak and ignorant, and you see yourself as not having any power to do anything at all in life, and you're just like, oh, woe's me. Well, if you found some recording that says, I am strong, I am smart, and I have the power to do anything that I set my mind to, and you just let that shit play over and over and over, or whatever, all night long while you're sleeping, you'd be amazed at the impact that would have, that you wouldn't even consciously be aware of that it was happening. Because if you listen to it while you're awake, your conscious mind and your thought process would be like, no, I know I'm weak. I can see it. I know I'm not smart because I don't know things. I know that I don't know how to do or can't achieve anything I want to. Your logical mind, your conscious mind, based off of experiences that you've had, is actually going to get in the way of letting stuff like that get into your subconscious mind where you're predominantly driven from. Because your experiences say it's not possible because every time I've done it, this is what happens. So if you try to take in affirmations like that as an example, your conscious mind and your conscious filters are going to get in the way and prevent it from getting into your subconscious mind. And you're going to, have fits trying to reprogram yourself, so to speak. But if you would take that stuff that your conscious mind is going to be like, oh, that's all bullshit, and consume it at night while your conscious mind is asleep and shut down, if you will, and your conscious filters certainly aren't working. However, you're going to hear it all night, and your subconscious mind is going to take in every word. That's why it's so dangerous to fall asleep with the television on. That's why it's so dangerous to fall asleep to, for instance, death metal music if you can. I mean, when I was like 14 and 15, I would literally fall asleep to Metallica. I put something on in the background like Metallica, and that may not be the worst, but there are other examples of like death metal or other just toxic-ass fucking music. And once your conscious filters go away, now your subconscious mind is listening to all of that, and it believes that it's real. It can't distinguish. It does not have the capacity to determine false from true, real versus unreal. It does not have the capacity. So anyway, just some food for thought. Take some time. Start off with fucking 10 or 15 minutes. Take some time where you're doing something to learn about the mind, to learn about the subconscious, to learn about the conscious, to understand how the barriers work between the conscious and the subconscious. Take some time to learn outside of, for instance, what I'm telling you about how the language of the subconscious mind speaks to us. Learn about how it operates, and then learn how to program it. There's too much out there that would allow you to better understand this process and take control of your mind. The all is mind. The universe is mental. There's that. Obviously, with the television, with the media, with all the efforts they put out and all the ways they do, the mind is the prize. They're really trying to influence what you believe and what you perceive. If you don't take control over that 110% up to, and that 10% means you're going a little bit beyond and actually learning about your own subconscious mind and how it works. So you're better armed and equipped to protect it. You're more consciously aware of what you need to do to protect it. And you're more consciously aware of what you need to do to, for instance, reprogram it in the way that you want it programmed. On a lot of levels, you will be what you tell yourself you are. So if you tell yourself you're dumb, you're ignorant, you're weak, you're this, that, the other, because you've had experiences in life where that's been your perception, or somebody fucking constantly drilled that into your head, so that's just the way you see yourself, and you've never thought yourself out of that box. You start putting tapes on or videos or whatever it is where they're saying things like, I am smart, I am strong, I can do whatever I want, or whatever it is. You start doing that for long enough time at night, when you're asleep, when your conscious filters are down. Give it enough time, you will start to see your internal perception of yourself begin to shift. And you'll never know that for sure until you fucking try it and can say for sure, no, that doesn't work, or holy shit, that actually started working. If you don't do the work, then you get what you deserve if you understand what they're doing and that what I'm telling you has some merit and that the responsibility to protect and prevent this stuff is on you. The responsibility for doing the going into the, that's all on you. For learning that journey, it's all on you. Like it or not, it's all on us. So do with it what you will. Take it easy, people.